All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to this Ocean Life podcast. Thanks for being here. I'm your host, Josh Peterson. Today, we got a return guest of Troy Nebeker. I had a chance to have a beer and a burrito and spend some time with Troy and his awesome daughter on a trip they made from the Pacific Northwest down here through my hood in Santa Cruz. And it was great because we got to spend some time talking about Monster and Sea, the 24-hour paddle for cancer. In its fifth year, Troy takes us through sort of the organic growth that he has witnessed with this movement that he put together, back in the day. Here in Santa Cruz, we've just gone through our third year. And so there's a lot of neat relation we have with Troy and his experiences in the Pacific Northwest. He takes us through a lot of stories from other teams around the nation and in Canada. We talk about the physical challenges, the mental challenges of paddling with some friends for 24 hours. A lot of neat inspiration and people showing up to help, get in the water, just, support. And then we get into just the idea of being in the water and spending your time to do something good for other people. Here we're raising money for victims of cancer and families battling cancer. And so we talk quite a bit about that and what that means for us all, to do something, to help each other out. So ton of fun stuff with Troy. Great guy, super inspirational, and really glad I got a chance to sit down with him. Hope you enjoy it. Hope it inspires you to get out, maybe spend some time doing something good for somebody else. And, I say this every day, but also inspires you to maybe cut down the plastic and pick up some trash, do something good for the ocean as well, because it gives us so much every day. With that, let's get back into Troy Nebeker, hear what he's been up to with the 24-hour Monster and Sea paddle.
So 2019, I can say for myself, this was my third year. The 24 it gets like differently better every time.
Yeah.
But you have a totally different perspective as kind of the guy who grew this thing originally, and now in year 5, it's like, there's probably a lot of interesting perspective you have between year 1 to 5, last year to this year, et cetera. So I don't know.
It's it's been nuts. It's been sort of a crazy, wonderful journey. It's just a big soup,
yeah.
Right? Like year 1 had no understanding of what it was going to be like.
Yeah.
No.
Threw it on the wall, see if it sticks.
It's like, hey, fellas, you want to do this? And everybody said yes.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, let's do it. And then it just caught fire, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really cool to actually sit now and talk to people who are like, oh, I've done it for 3 years now.
Right.
Or
some veterans now.
Total veterans,
yeah.
and and people who kind of have that same experience of their first time not knowing what to expect, and then getting into it and going, whoa, what did I sign up for?
Yeah, that's right.
And then actually coming back again and again,
right.
Because you know what you're in for.
Yeah, which is interesting. One of the things, there's a lot of different aspects of it looking back over year 1 and 2 and 3 that for me, and one of them was this year was having new people join each year.
Yeah.
We have a crew here in Santa Cruz where myself and Nick Franco and now Mike Ireed, that's his second. Nick and I have been all 3 here in Santa Cruz. It's neat to see new faces because they don't know what they're in for.
Right.
They've heard about it and they can kind of guess and think, and we'll tell them all about it. But until you actually go through it, you kind of don't really know. And it's really cool to see, and you listen to them before it starts and then after as well, And so up in Seattle with you guys, you've had a turnover. You have different faces joining the team each year as well.
Yeah, and we kind of, everybody has done it differently. In Morro Bay, it's sort of 6, and I think in Santa Cruz it's 6, but you have a lot of people that show up.
Yeah.
Seattle grew to 24 paddlers
on the team.
Oh
wow.
So it's 4 teams of 6. And so and other places have done similar things as well.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay.
So it's sort of
multiple teams in one
in one place.
Yeah.
And like Vancouver, Vancouver's kind of got this interesting hub of paddling where the community is really strong, but there's a little bit of sprawl, right? And so they actually did they broke it up and had different teams in different locations around Vancouver.
That's cool.
And so it was, it's like everybody, it's neat because the first year, sort of set a pattern or a precedent.
Yeah.
But people have taken that
Right.
and modified it to a certain degree.
To fit their whole thing.
Yeah, to kind of fit their whole thing. Not modified it from the basic route, which is, you got to rely on your team.
Yeah.
Your team relies on the community. The end goal, which is helping families, they rely on us.
Yeah.
So it's this it's this nice.
Right. The model's the same, but people have evolved it like to fit what they're doing. Like we have, like you guys have 6 teams.
Yeah.
Because you have 24 people. Like let's do 6 teams. Cool.
Yeah.
And it's all still Team Seattle, but it's like individual different teams. So for you guys then, with 6 teams in one location, are you all converging and paddling from one spot?
Yep.
And you're just like keeping track of who's on whose team and like coming and going and all that stuff.
I set up a sheet for each team, and it just kind of has the hours all broken down. And once you sort of get into the rhythm,
right,
it just starts to flow. And we're out of one location, the Pocock Rowing Center, which is right on Lake Union. We choose Lake Union because it's central to everybody.
Right.
It's a lake, but you have multiple options of where to paddle. And
nice. Keeps the variety up.
Up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
I was gonna say there's no gray boss in the water though.
Right. Well, what's interesting is that like each place, like the conditions can present challenges, but even I'd imagine, and we have them here, everybody's got Vancouver and San Diego and everybody, all over the place have different conditions that are challenging, but even if it was plate glass, it's still challenging for 24 hours.
It's still 24 hours.
Seriously, like it's like...
Everybody has the same pie.
Yeah, it really,
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's just like, I gotta get up in the middle of the night and put this cold wetsuit on and go again, whether it's bumpy or whether it's flat, it's still really hard.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, because your body revolts, man.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. So how was in your guys' team, like your team of the 24, your 6, and this is a fun one we were just chatting about half an hour ago, walking over to get a burrito, is the format. Because part of it is there's no set format. You can do every 10 minutes and change. You can do whatever. Here we do 2-hour increments just because we randomly selected that. And you guys do 1 hour, and we're kind of pro-conning those two things.
Yeah, for sure.
So talk about your 24, window this year.
Well, when it first started, it was the hour increments, and the thinking behind the hour increments was to give everybody as much paddling as possible. And to make it hard, honestly.
Yeah.
And then, and that we've just sort of stuck with that. But it's, like to your point, it's really cool to hear how different people have sliced that 24-hour pie.
Right.
And in the 2-hour increments, I even think there's a team. I hope I don't get this wrong, but I think in North Carolina they'll do 4-hour increments.
Oh, whoa!
It kind of works out.
Makes sense.
As long as you keep the principle the same,
right?
And you don't want to. I think it's hard for a reason. There's like that little bit of you gotta challenge yourself, because people have asked, like, dude, why don't you just do this for a couple hours or do it for 6 hours?
Right.
I'm like, well, anybody can do that,
right?
Not everybody can do this. This, kind of this reliance on each other to keep everybody motivated to go.
Yeah.
And so,
right.
But I love it. I love how people have taken the principle of the thing and made it fit. But the end goal always stays the same.
That's right. Yeah. The start and the end are the same, but how you get there is totally up to you, basically.
Yeah.
It's fun to talk about it. Just like, what would it 1 hour on, hour off be like for you? It's like an hour on, then it's like 2 off.
Yeah, so with the three pairs, right? So an hour on, 2 off.
Yeah.
And then you're back on.
Right.
And then we also there'll be some back-to-backs in there because we do group paddles.
Yeah.
Just to involve
In
the
between.
community.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so like
cool.
we'll do a group paddle at the start.
Yeah.
So everybody's on the water,
Yeah.
and then it drops
Yeah.
down to pairs.
Right.
And then we do a group paddle leading up to, or group paddle for midnight,
Oh, you do. Oh, that's cool.
and then a group paddle to finish.
Right.
And so, but what that creates is some back-to-back paddles.
Yes. Somebody's
there.
going to have to back it.
Somebody gets somebody gets the shaft on that.
But it's a 2-hour shaft. It's not like a...
It's not like
Yeah.
you're on for 5 hours.
Right, right.
You get 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
but those midnight, I'd say after about 10:30
Yeah.
is when, at least I think that's when the event changes.
Right. It does in a big way.
You know.
Oh yeah. It becomes a different event. I mean, it's the same one, but it's a completely different paradigm at that point. It's very palpable because it's like, especially here, for you guys, you're excited. It's the morning. You're starting out the day. Everybody's hyped, and it's like, and all of a sudden it's like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and you start feeling a little tired.
Yeah.
The sun's going down. The community at large kind of starts to dissipate because some people are going to go home and go to sleep, which is cool.
They're like, you're weird.
Yeah. And then it's just like this kind of core group. And then it's dark now and probably a little colder. And maybe the conditions have changed. Like here, this weird like south wind pops up you don't ever see during the day.
Yeah.
And that's up now. And so the environment's different. And then it's like, okay, and you got to kind of buckle down. You know?
It becomes business.
It does.
You know?
Yeah.
And your partner's there to talk and keep, you're there to keep each other motivated. But like I paddled with Rennick for 4 of the 5 years. And when we're together, it's like
Oh, totally.
total chat,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Constant.
But there's some of those hours in the middle of the night where you're freezing. You don't want to put your that cold wetsuit on. There's not a lot of conversation.
Right.
You know,
It's just quiet time.
it is quiet time.
Just buckle down.
It's buckle down and paddle.
Yeah.
And like Rennick typically sets the pace, which is great. Because that's just what works out.
Yep. Yep.
And but there's some quiet hours.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure.
know?
Sometimes you just don't feel like talking.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Yeah.
Or one side or the other, and then it's pretty palpable too. Especially what's cool is knowing your partner.
Yeah.
Whether you've paddled with this person multiple 24s, which is, you learn a lot with that person.
Definitely.
Or just paddling recreationally for fun with that person, you also learn a lot.
Yeah.
So when they're not into conversation.
Oh, instantly.
It is very mutual. You know?
I mean,
And it's like, dude, okay. And then it's quiet. And you're like,
and it's zero stress.
yeah, absolutely. Which
But you
is
know
cool.
what, man? Like so we both prone paddle. So I mean, you kind of know I love that sound when there is no conversation.
Yeah.
But I don't know, the sound where
Right.
your arms go in, and then they come out.
Yeah.
And you just like that into the water and out, and when you're not talking and you can just kind of hear that.
Yeah. It's cool.
It's rad.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a big reason I think why people paddle in general is that sort of meditative, just getting lost in your own sound, whether it's like you have a SUP paddle and dipping or you're paddling prone with the arms, there's that. It's a meditative aspect of the sound of it, Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Like I can, even talking about it, it's like I can feel it, right?
Yeah.
I can feel it on my arms.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
love
So for you guys, where you're at, it's in Seattle. So what are the conditions like? What were they like this year? Like during the day, temp, water and air, and then in the night, what was all that like?
Last year it rained for 23 and a half hours of the 24.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
This year...
You called me, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember. I was loading boards,
Yeah.
and then the phone rang, and it was you
Yeah, it's freaking
and
miserable.
Chris. That's right. You're like,
was
it's
miserable.
raining here.
And this year it rained it rained a bit. It was a little colder,
Like what, 50?
40s.
Holy crap,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. But that's the thing, right? It's like now that we're up to 40 cities across the U.S.,
Right.
Canada, all over the place. Seattle's 40 is nothing compared to Canmore's snow and freezing. Or
Very, very true.
Hats off to the Canadian teams.
Oh yeah, no, I can't even believe what those guys do.
Yeah,
Like it's insane.
right. Yeah, and they do it with a smile.
Yeah, it's so rad.
And it blows me away every year to see the pictures and to hear the stories of breaking ice And like, dude, we have it good, right? Like at the rowing center, we go inside, we have hot showers, you got your cot to sleep on. We're talking fire barrels and cars with blue tarps and heaters.
That's badass.
Badass. Yeah. Legit.
Wow.
And they're well, everybody's out there because they want to.
Yeah.
And
that's
the thing that blows me away.
Yeah,
like from year 1 to year 5,
Yeah.
right? It's like year 1, it was a handful of buddies.
Yeah.
And we're it's like we're gonna give this a go. And now people are out there because they want to do it.
Right.
And more importantly, they want the end result.
Yeah.
And the end result is the helping part.
Right. So you guys, did you benefit one family, multiple families this year with your team?
20 families. Yeah,
Got
so
it.
multiple families. So this year we raised $20K.
Right.
And
spread it out.
Yeah, so we spread it out. And again, like everybody does it different.
Yeah.
The original concept was to be able to to help as many people as we could with a little bit.
Yeah.
And but I mean, the truth of the matter is, there's some people who need a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we're dads.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Right.
I can't imagine it being one of my kids.
Yeah, and having $100,000 of bills sitting there, like
just sitting there,
Yeah.
And I just can't imagine. And so like I know Santa Cruz does this, and other teams do it as well, where there'll be a family that is just in the thick of it, man. And then it's just like, you know what?
Yeah,
they
all
need
goes
it.
there. Yeah,
they need the
yeah,
help.
Yeah, totally. And that's what we've done. I think just by default, it's like, while we would spread the money to as many folks as we had, it just ended up like we identified one family.
Yeah.
And for us, and I'm sure, they're all heart-wrenching stories.
Definitely.
But the three that we benefited over the 3 years is like, can it get any worse than this? The whole 2 children, 1 young woman with a kid, and and so. But what's cool too and we've been really fortunate that each year the family we benefited was able to show up.
Yes.
And
how cool is
with
that,
them,
man?
And because we talk about it, you get excited, you lead up, you're sending emails. We have the page, the donation page, and you know who the family is. But then all of a sudden, like when they show up, I think for me anyway, and having, like you said, being a dad, having kids, it's like when it's 2:30 a.m. or 4 a.m., you're just like feeling sorry for yourself.
Just work, yeah.
You're like, dude, are you kidding me?
Right. Right.
This kid's got brain cancer. He's 10. And then here I am again.
Yeah.
Feeling sorry for myself. This is your whole story that got you to where you're at. But it's cool. Like you said, the people who do this event show up because they want to, and it's hard and it's challenging, but it makes us feel good that we won't let some discomfort stop us from doing this, and that you're following through this commitment. Nobody would know if you didn't paddle that last leg or whatever. Mm-hmm. There's still, you're still raising this money, but I guarantee you, I'd almost bet I'd say 100% everybody always does all of it.
Yep. Yep. Everybody does their shifts.
Yeah.
And it's it is because you want to.
Yeah.
And the we've had families show up, that we've supported. We've had envelope recipients come back and paddle the next year with
cool.
the teams.
Yeah.
And just that it's now growing and kind of maturing a little bit to where you get to see the good parts.
Right. That's cool.
There is a gravity to it, right? Like the first year we handed out 7 envelopes, and I believe 5 of those people passed away.
Yeah.
And so there's a reality to what we're doing.
Yeah. No, there's very true. And the first 2 of ours also passed away.
Yeah.
But that's part of.
Well, that's
reality.
That's part of it, and that never ever gets easier.
Yeah.
But like you said, there's a huge dose of reality in that, and now it's the point. It's like can't stop.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, let's carry that weight,
Yeah.
you know, let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let's do it with a smile.
Right. One of the things too that I really like about it, and I think I'd wager that the people who do it multiple years, they have this sort of bone in their body, or they're genetically predisposed to like to suffer a little bit.
Definitely.
You know, like
Yeah.
you wouldn't come back the next year. Maybe you would if you really felt so strongly about raising money, but you could be like a cheerleader in a silent, not cheerleader, but you could be like a strong supporter.
Yeah, for
help
sure.
raise money and not get in the water and go through the whole pain.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If you come back a second year or a third year, you like a little bit of pain,
You like a little bit
and
of
you
stuff.
like the excuse to suffer some pain.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's this other dimension of this whole event that was never probably intended, but it's this cool thing. That's why I love it, because I get to put myself in an uncomfortable position, which is just good for us, all of us who try to make comfortable lives. And I get to do it for somebody who's suffering way worse than me, and do something good for that person. But so talk about like that aspect of it for you and your time in the water, that like, I'm sore, I'm tired, I'm cold, I'm cramping, or whatever. Like, there's that mental, physical challenge part where there's times when you forget kind of that you're doing something to benefit somebody for cancer for a while, and you're just like suffering.
Yeah. Well, it's well, I mean, I think like you said, there's the people who continually come back. We're a bunch of junkies, you know, like. And I think we all have, you have that. You're either geared that way or you're not.
Yeah.
You know, and we all happen to be geared that way.
True.
There's some hours though in there that suck. You know, and it is hard. It's hard. It's cold, and you're miserable, and you're like, what am I doing?
No.
You know?
Yeah.
But like you said, the thought process it comes full circle, because you're like, oh, I'm so amped, I'm gonna be able to help these people.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sick of paddling, and I'm cold, and freaking what am I doing? And then I'm so amped because I'm helping these people.
Right.
You know, so it's like this. It's like this giant circle.
Yeah. So for you, what this year or past year, or 2019, what was your hardest hours during the event?
I say it was not this year, but the year before. And it rained 23 hours of the 24.
Man.
And it, not just rain. Like, we had the most rain in Seattle, and yes, it does rain in Seattle a lot. The most rain in one day that on record.
On that day.
And dude,
that's.
And I felt, you know, and you know how you kind of look at everybody else, like when you're paddling prone, and you know, you're like, oh, I'm home, and it feels awesome. And then you look at somebody on stand up and like, oh man, that looks like that sucks. And you look at somebody in an OC and it's like, oh, that's terrible. And I felt bad because I'm in a wetsuit, right? So I'm gonna be wet anyway.
Right.
But man, people who are on stand up and in the canoes, they're just taking it, right? Like, they're just wet.
Because they don't paddle in.
Well, I mean, you're not paddling in full. You roast. I mean, it's just too much.
Right.
You know. Right. I mean, for us, you know, I mean, you're just kind of in it, and it's sort of standard. But
oh, geez.
And I felt so bad for some folks, because it's just like, you're wet.
Yeah.
And not just like you're wet.
Like you just fell in, basically. You are drenched.
You were drenched for 24
Constantly.
And the temperature was at a point where it's like, it was really difficult to keep warm.
Really?
You know, when you're kind of that miserable wet. And so for me, I think that year was probably the hardest.
Yeah. But so a day like that up there in Seattle, which I don't know the conditions well, was it more challenging? Probably at 2 a.m. or the early,
for sure,
than like the 2 p.m. versus the 2 a.m. I mean,
the two. I mean, I don't know. Like at 2 in the afternoon, when it's dumping on you, you have like the evening to look forward to, right? When it's 2 in the morning and it's just nuking water at you, you know, it's you got nothing to look forward to. You're like, I have to paddle again in another 2 hours.
Right.
And I'm not going to get by.
Right. Which comes back to that, like, how do you structure your format?
Yeah.
You know, in that case, you might have wanted to wish you did 2 hours up front.
For
so
sure.
you had 4 off, so you can get out of the freaking rain for 4 hours.
Yeah, like,
you know,
some sort of drive.
You know, there's just this different formats for different conditions and everything. And there are pros and cons. You know, it's funny to.
Yeah. I mean, I would it would be really cool to talk to it was Frenchman's Bay, and they actually, it was either last year or the year before, the conditions were so horrible and they got iced out that they stopped.
Yeah. It's like, we can't do this.
We can't do it.
Very unsafe, probably.
Super unsafe.
And then,
super unsafe.
Maybe yeah.
And that's, you know what, that's actually a really important point. I think it was year 3 in Seattle. It was in the middle of the night and it was nuking wind.
Yeah.
Just going to town. And that's the cool thing about knowing who you're paddling with. There wasn't a question. Like we're all like,
yeah, you're like,
not safe.
Yeah.
We're going to sleep, And it's not a question. It's not a matter of ego. It's not a matter of anything.
Yeah.
It's a matter of going back to that core principle of, I'm going to do this with my team.
Yeah.
We're going to look after each other and encourage each other and support each other. And, if Mother Nature is angry with us, we're going to pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little different than, I'm going to go out and I'm going to charge this. No matter what.
Right.
It's not.
Yeah.
There's other days for that.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, very true. One thing too I noticed is the community aspect's killer, right?
Yeah.
People come out and they paddle there on the beach. That's all awesome, or nearby. But we've had a couple times here where people want to come paddle. Great, awesome. But it's like midnight, and you might not know this person. They might be somebody you do know. And you're like in your zone. You're not. It's midnight now, or 2 a.m.
Yeah, it's on.
And you're focused. You are singularly focused on getting through the next hour or two with your guy or your crew. And these people show up, and it's awesome because it inspires you. But there's an aspect where I don't want to have to. You don't have a glow stick, and I don't have one on me.
Yeah.
I don't want to be who's kind of safety ocean minded and by nature.
Yeah.
I don't want to be worrying about you.
Yeah.
I love you're here. Thank you. And it's like, so it's like having a conversation, and we've always been okay. But I remember the first year we did it, it coincided with the passing of a good friend.
Yeah.
And so a bunch of people came out to recognize him. Great. And they're all strong water people. But one I didn't know, and I guess he wasn't as strong as maybe he thought. And suddenly he's gone. He turned around. We were going to the mile buoy, which is 1.5 miles straight offshore. It's bumpy, that weird wind.
It's super weird.
Yeah, and it's like, it's unnerving for somebody who grew up here.
Yeah.
And animals in the water aside. And it's like...
Can you guys charge out in the middle of the night?
That's the tradition. That's the tradition. Yeah.
That's mega.
Yeah, it's rad. And then he disappeared, but he turned around, nobody knew, and I wasn't gonna freak out. I'm like, dude, these guys came.
Yeah.
We're here. But anyway, it was all fine and dandy. But it just added a little bit of distraction that we didn't really need. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, totally.
And so I've been a little bit more savvy, all of us, with kind of inviting or kind of, hey, we're gonna paddle at midnight. We'd love to have you, versus not broadcasting to everybody, hey, we're paddling at midnight, show up, because it's just a safety factor.
There's a safety factor. It changes some stuff. I mean, it's funny because some people will show up to paddle and they're amped, and then they lift the pace. And you're in a pace of I'm in a pace to survive
survival
24
mode.
hours.
Totally.
And they're coming out like, come on, man, let's get after it. And you're like, I don't want to get after it.
I really.
We can do that on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But not
totally.
Not today.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, it is funny, man. It's cool. But it's neat though. At the end of the day, everybody's really stoked to
Definitely.
Whether they're came to support you and bring you some bagels or actually get in the water. Everybody, it's a great excuse for a lot of different people doing a lot of different things to feel like they've contributed to something outside of themselves, which is cool.
Absolutely.
There's different.
Yeah, and I think that's at the end of the day, that's the sweetness that this is. It's the well, I mean, we live in a world of selfies.
Yeah.
Right? And it's turning the camera the other direction for a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not about me or you, or it's not.
Yeah.
It's about who we're helping.
Right.
And That's pretty rad.
It is. It's very cool. And I think I'm having like deja vu. Maybe we've had similar conversations, but there's an aspect of that which is like the selfie aspect, which is like, paddling or a lot of ocean sports are relatively selfish by nature.
For sure.
Like, I go out paddling. I love paddling with friends, but boy, I love paddling by myself. And sometimes I just prefer it.
Yeah.
Because there's, we all need that. And this is very much not a selfish act.
No.
You're with somebody, even if it's just you and your buddy, you're always with somebody.
Always.
Right.
Yep.
And then you're doing it not because you want to get in shape or you want to train for a race or you need to get away from everybody and just meditate. It's very unselfish, which is also a neat aspect of it.
Yeah.
Versus your normal paddling routine.
Yeah.
So then talk about switching gears from like, your experience and chatting about mine to like the bigger picture. So we were chatting a little bit earlier about the growth of the teams across the nation from 2018 to 19, right? 5 years in. So what would you say, what's like the number increase from 2018 to 19 in terms of teams?
It's been exponential every year. We went from, I believe we had 22 teams in 18, something like that.
Yeah, I think I remember a number like that.
Somewhere in there, to 40 cities with multiple teams in each city.
Wow.
So it's a double.
Right.
And easily. And and the email and phone are already ringing.
Can you see, if you had a map, could you see like a heat map of is it like warmer climate, colder, or is it totally random?
Totally random.
Yeah.
And there's landlocked places. Like we had Team Arizona this year. And Idaho, and places in Texas. Right. We had Team Texas. Right. And it's kind of interesting because the coastal, East and West Coast, I think it's sort of a given, right? Like there's
on the edges.
Yeah, on the edges, it's like it's full on water.
Right.
And some communities are stronger than others. There are a couple teams that are like, oh man, I'm so bummed. I mean, we only raised X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
I guess my encouragement for teams like, teams just starting out or teams wanting to be part of it is there's the money and then there's the inspiration. Yeah. And those two things they're not mutually exclusive. Right. You know what I mean? Like if you raise $100, that's 100 more than somebody had. Right. But you have no idea who you inspired out there. Right. That, it could have been somebody who was so down about their situation that they kind of lost hope. Right? Yeah. Right. And then to see a community wrapping their hands around a stranger, you mean a stranger wants to help me? Yeah, exactly. Dude. Yeah, yeah. I've had that conversation too. We had it with our first year, actually. It was a young woman, 20s, battling, I don't think it was brain cancer, some type of cancer. 1-year-old kid, like a young couple. And I remember talking to her husband on the beach, and he goes, it's not, the money's cool, but it's really like, you just nailed it, which is, he said it was like just strangers full on doing something, he's like that shot of just like love or, is like this boost that they needed way more than the cash at that time, just to like get through another day. Yeah. He said, he's like that's just like priceless, which is cool. Like, it's rad. Yeah. And then it's also like as you mentioned, like the tendrils of this spread out, it's like, other people in the community see you doing something, they don't need to go as gnarly as this if they don't want to. There's other things they can do. Maybe just donate $5, or it could be whatever, but it's neat to be a model of sorts that other people may or may not be inspired by. It's cool. Yeah. But other people, they end up, might inspire somebody else to do something cool for somebody else another day. You know? And that's, it's, I think it's really easy to talk about it. Yeah. It's harder to do it, and that's a life thing, right? Yep. Like you can talk all day long, but there's to actually take that step outside of comfort and into a zone where it's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Right.
Is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think that's what keeps people coming back.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And so, so the growth is amazing. Would you, and based on the responses you've got and the new inquiries, et cetera, since April, here we are in June, we're just call it almost 2 months since the 24, that day.
Can't believe it's only 2 months.
I know.
Crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of forecast for like what the number might be next year? Do you see like another doubling, or is it
that would be
snowballing from what you could tell?
It'd be amazing, man.
Yeah. But do you see it? I mean,
honestly, I try not to.
Yeah.
I try and kind of keep my eyes closed because I think it's sort of the same thing with the money, right? Like if you're like, if we could only raise X, or if we only had so many teams, or all that stuff. I kind of like being surprised.
That's cool.
Because like with the money. So this year was nuts with 40 plus cities. I mean, we did $250,000.
Wow.
Combined.
Yeah.
Right.
That's insane.
And I didn't want to talk about that at all because because every year the teams have grown exponentially and the amount that we've been able to help has grown exponentially. And I think the reason is because we don't put focus on the money.
Yeah, right.
People are giving because
it's secondary. The money's tertiary.
It's tertiary.
Yeah,
I mean, it's people give because they want to, because it comes from the heart.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say, well, you need to give more, because that's not what it's about.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if you want to give, sweet. If you have a dime, right on.
Yeah.
If you have $100,000, right on.
Yeah.
It's just how. Yeah, I close my eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk about like the logistics that the coordination part of this, right? So 22 teams to 40, which is actually not 40 teams, it's 40 plus more, because there's some
cities have multiple teams.
Yeah. And so how much time do you spend like just helping coordinate, answering questions, giving tips, advice for either existing teams or the new ones? I mean, I'm just guessing there's a lot of time you spend.
It's a lot now.
Yeah.
The nice thing though is that the structure and kind of, when I sort of drew it out after year one, was like, I can't do it all.
Right.
And so having team captains in each city, it takes a lot of the on the ground work out of it, because team captains know their paddlers, know their community, know who needs help, and so they take charge of their communities. And so it's really neat to see, like Chris Hammond in Newport, and, Teddy over in Morro Bay, and you, and like people taking ownership of it. And it's like, that's that flame, right? It's like
self-sustaining.
It's self-sustaining because, then it's not all about me,
right?
Which I don't want it to be.
Right.
I want it to be all about us.
Right. Yeah. And you got your own paddle to do too. So it's
I got a paddle too.
You got to prep and your stuff and your
it's
gear.
Rad, it's like, I have to paddle. I mean, it certainly doesn't make sense for me to not paddle.
Yeah, right.
It's like, I'm going to come up with this, and it's going to suck, and it's going to be hard, and it's going to be 24 hours.
You guys do it.
And I'm not going to sleep.
Wake me up. I'll check it in the morning.
That's right. Wake me up when it's done, But it's, yeah, man. I think what I focused on last year was more the consistency in message. So that is one challenge, right? Is when you grow exponentially and you have different teams, different cities. I think the thing that makes this unique and work really well is that there's a day that everybody goes. It's a unified message, meaning we're helping families who are dealing with cancer. End of story.
Right.
And how we talk about that, this is how we talk about it.
Yeah.
We don't talk about it we don't put people on display. We don't talk about it in a way that pats our own back. You know, like there's some.
Yeah, it's not about us.
There's some rules of conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think, you know, kind of setting that up.
Yeah.
That means a lot to me.
That's cool. Yeah.
It means a lot.
Yeah.
It's important to, you know, have a look that people recognize and go, that's the 24.
Right. Yeah. And that's that's a special aspect of it too, that I do remark upon during the year, during the day, which is, it's like opening day for baseball. Like when I used to coach Little League, example, it was a special time because, like, you know, youth sports are cool. It's like everybody around the country right now is standing out here singing the national anthem, and it's baseball time. It's everybody's doing something at once. It's cool. And this is the same thing. It's like even like midnight, you're like, I'm not the only one right now feeling this way.
Absolutely.
You know, and so you can take heart in that, but you also can take heart in, like, there's a bunch of people all together in a lot of different locations doing the same thing, you know, and that's like this kind of unifying spirit of it that, you know, you don't sit there and dwell on it the whole time, but you can reflect on it and gain a little bit of strength from it. But I also think what I've noticed when I describe what we're doing, and to somebody, I'm not trying to hit them up for money, I'm just describing what we're doing. And when you say, oh, and this is happening around the country, people go, what?
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, I'm paddling with some buddies for 24 hours. I go, that's really cool. I go, yeah, and that's happening in 25, 40 other cities. And people just go, they double take.
Yeah.
I go, whoa. And you can see it. They're like, well, that's a pretty legit thing.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think it helps, honestly, I think it helps add legitimacy to potential donors who hear about it, you know.
For sure.
And that's cool.
For sure.
But people just go, well, that's pretty awesome.
I mean, after the first and second year, you know, there's of course doubters, and I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people tugging on your shirt for money.
Yep.
And there are a lot of unethical people out there. You know what I mean?
It's hard to sift through that sometimes.
It's super hard to sift through that. And the neat thing is that with the team captains, with the structure and with everything it is, us junkies who sign up for this we're doing what we say we're doing.
Yeah.
You know what? You know, and if you're going to give me $1, I'm going to make sure that dollar gets to where it goes. Yeah. And I'm going to gnaw my own arm off before it doesn't make it there. You know? And so now that we've been doing it for a while, those questions of, are you really doing this?
Yeah, that's right.
They're no more.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's very true.
They're no more.
Yeah. And for like new teams, like maybe they started this year or are looking to start next year, like I've noticed is in year 3, the word's out.
Yeah.
You know, word always travels kind of slow, but now the 3rd year, people are like, oh, you doing that again? Or, oh yeah, cool, you're doing that again. Or like the conversation or the emails I send out or the social media things I post to like say, hey, here's what we're doing. We're benefiting this young kid with brain cancer or whatever that is. The reaction is much more kind of instant. People have heard about it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, which helps, I think, you know, grease the wheels of people to either come down or donate or whatever that is, you know, it's cool.
And, you know, what I think is really fun and like, I mean, I'm looking at your hat, right? I mean, you guys do this a lot in this community, you know, and helping and that's the same in other communities. There's kind of core groups that are like, this is what we do. We help.
Yeah.
And like the guys in New Jersey, animals. That whole team, like they are focused on helping people.
They do other events.
They do other events to help people dealing with cancer. Yeah, wow, and 6 guys who that's what they do.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah. It is so neat. It's so cool. And I would love to actually, like, there's only so much time we have, but I was thinking, like, God, it'd be so cool to capture stories. Maybe like a little, I mean, each team has an hour to tell, but like, I'm so interested to hear, like, just listening to you about the Seattle crew.
Yeah.
There's these guys in Canada, multiple locations in Canada, and I talked to some folks in Southern Cal, and there's a group in Hawaii. They all have their challenges and trials and tribulations, but it's just it's so fascinating to hear while we're all doing the same thing.
Yeah.
the experience is very different for all of us,
Totally.
Different locations, people, all that stuff, you know.
I love the Cayman Island crew. Like they've got so much joy. Well, I mean, it's Cayman Islands, but so much joy.
I think I saw some pictures of something from
And
those guys.
I love seeing their pictures.
Yeah.
Because it really, it's
right.
It's rad.
Yeah.
But you look at the pictures, even the people who are frozen to the bone. There's I don't know, man. There's something. There's something in it.
So what do you guys do? So one of my favorite, I mean, there's so many different favorite pieces, but it's like there's this time for us here, like one of our traditions, and everybody's got traditions. Like for one, the midnight run is the mile buoy, which is, it's a weird thing. But at the end of the day, where we stage from is the Dream Inn Hotel.
Right.
They don't comp us. They give us great discounts on rooms because there's so we can get warm and chill, do all that stuff. But then there's this big giant hot tub.
Oh man,
and
that sounds awesome.
Roasting hot. It's like 103, 104, and at the end of it, we're all done. It's like there's coffees and donuts and Modelo's. We jump in the hot tub and just like laugh and reflect. It's really fun. And so, do you guys have like how do you wrap up? Do you have something you do?
It's hard, man. Breakfast burritos always show up.
Yeah.
People are worked by the end.
Oh yeah.
And I think the one thing that has changed with growth in Seattle specifically is that I think with a team of 6, you're pretty tight by the end.
Yeah.
With a team of 24, you're definitely tight, but also too, I mean, everybody's worked.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I love you guys.
Right.
I need to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And so this year and kind of the past years, it's, man, there's a free, a plethora of food.
Yeah.
Everybody eats and bolts.
Yeah. Out.
Yeah. Out.
Yeah.
Thanks. We'll see you next year.
Right. Yeah.
I think a lot of the energy happens in the start.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. People are just amped and ready to go.
Yeah. That mid-afternoon's kind of the most like the peak of all that.
Yeah.
I've noticed. In the morning, you're like, okay, let's go, and you're excited, and then you kind of get a few paddles under your belt, and it's like 2, 3 in the afternoon, and you're feeling good, and and then it kind of starts to get dusk, and everything. So after this year and checking in with the teams and stuff, you mentioned raised about $250,000, which is incredible. Did you get word of like any like problems, like somebody got hurt, or was there any like
no, thankfully
challenges that happened?
No, no.
Yeah, great.
No challenges. I think the only challenge that I heard of was people maybe biting off more than they could chew.
Yeah.
And that does come from, it looks pretty easy on paper.
Yep.
But other than that, we've been very fortunate to have a safe adventure.
Right.
The whole time.
Yeah.
It and I think that, honestly, that goes back to having team captains.
Yeah.
And having people who are sort of ingrained in their communities.
Yeah.
And knowing who to put on the water, who to pair up.
Yeah.
Because personality is one thing at 10 in the afternoon. Personalities can change at 3 in the morning.
Yeah. Indeed. And there's a pairing of like physical ability as well.
Definitely.
I think maybe a 1 hour is different, but a 2 hour, it's like you have a stronger person after the first hour. Is a whole nother hour that might get to be
that's tough,
lopsided, etc. And that's that is the challenge with. While it's cool having new faces in the group, I think you're right. That is up to like the team captain or the group at large to understand who these folks are and who you pair them up with each other or other existing folks.
You do try and pair people that are similar in ability.
Yeah.
Because it's I think the first year Spencer and Bo Whitehead were paired together because they're both animals.
Right.
And they both crank, and
makes
it was
sense.
It was supernatural,
Yeah.
right? And then I feel sorry for Rennick because he tows me around.
Yeah.
But but that's okay.
Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it, right? Yeah.
So then here we are, June 8, 2019.
Yeah.
We got a 10-month countdown ish.
10-month countdown.
You know,
Dude,
so like,
holy cow.
yeah, I don't know, like what big challenges or opportunities, maybe both, do you see on the horizon between now and the 2020, 24?
Well, I mean, that has a great ring to it, right? 2020, 24.
Yeah, that is cool.
I think the welcome challenge is how do we help more?
Yeah.
And
Right.
you know, and that's I think that's the big one for everybody to sort of take to heart.
Right.
You know, how
That's a
do
great
you
point.
how do you structure your, as a team captain, as a participant, how do you help more?
Right.
You know, and how do we do that? And let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And I noticed too, as like kind of a planner by nature, like it creeps up.
Oh, dude.
You know, it's like, I got 2 months, I got 6 weeks, and all of a sudden you're like, dude, I got like 8 days or 7 days. You're just scrambling and you're figuring stuff out, and you know, it just sneaks up on you. And there's a lot of different ways.
That's been tough. Like I would say if you're considering having a team, you know, if you're out there and you're like, man, this 24 thing, that seems like a really good thing. Don't wait.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, start now.
just, man, send me an email.
Yeah.
I'll get you a packet of information so you can kind of look at it, digest it, and really see if it's for you.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple aspects to it. You can off the couch it, no problem. But it feels better if you've trained a little bit.
Way better.
You have an opportunity to stoke out your community, which in turn helps with donations.
Yep.
Right? And letting people know. I mean, if you let people know a week before that this is what you're doing, that's sort of self-limiting, you know? But if you can spend a little bit of time with your social medias and in your community and sort of spreading the word, that helps.
Yeah.
And the key in there is time.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very true. It's very true. Yeah. And one thing might be cool too. I mean, you have probably a long, giant list of things to do, but you know, even if like I'll have like a webinar, I can help you with this, just like a tips and tricks.
That'd be killer.
And just like list things out. It could be a quick PowerPoint. Do. Think about this just for the first time, or even the people who've done it before. You know. Anyway.
Yeah, dude, and have people participate in that because I mean, because each place is different.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, Scott Burton in Vancouver. I mean, he's taken it on, and their challenges now are like they've got multiple spots and satellites and.
Yeah.
I was so impressed with those guys this year because let me back up just really quick, like and we could talk all night, but what's been really cool to see is teams and communities doing things off the water to benefit the event.
Yeah.
So people are axe throwing.
Oh, cool.
Like the guys in Vancouver, they had a beer night.
Yeah.
Right? So, burgers and beer. And so they had burgers and beer. It was a silent auction. In one night, they raised $11,000.
Whoa.
One night. That required
That's cool.
zero suffering.
Yeah.
All pleasure.
Yeah.
$11,000.
Right.
You know.
It crushed the donations.
Beers and burgers. You know what I mean? So the cool thing is like people are starting to think like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we're gonna paddle. That is a given.
Yeah.
How do we harness that energy and help more?
Yeah, that's a cool one. Yeah, 11,000. Yeah, and here Nick Franco, he's like, hey, I got a bunch of boards. Let's do a board sale and donate.
Dude, that was killer, right?
You know, and I'm like, what a great idea. Everybody's got boards laying around, and then like people driving bikes, but like, you guys have a board sale, dude? I have like 3. Can I donate those? Just put all the money in. So they were stoked, and they got excited that their boards are gonna help fund this thing for this young kid. I mean, it was just like, it was an extra $1,000, but it was like an extra $1,000.
It's an extra $1,000.
Yeah, and it was awareness too. People were like, whoa, cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are doing this.
Yeah.
You guys are loving on the community.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Wow, that's neat.
Yeah.
That's what's really cool. I'm sure it's really rewarding for you to see, like we kind of mentioned, the autonomy. Maybe that's what it is. The self-servicing aspect of these groups and these regions starting to take this and then abide by the core beliefs, values, and system, but then adding
to it, yeah.
evolving it, upping their own game on their own way to just, grow it in how they can. That's got to be really kind of,
it's humbling, man.
Amazing to see that.
It's humbling. It's humbling to see, and it's I feel really honored to be part of this community.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I love it.
Yeah.
I love this community. I love the water.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah. Well, I appreciate and want to thank you, and I'm sure everybody listening will say the same for putting it together. You know.
My pleasure.
Yeah. One thing too, and I mean, really, it's awesome to be part of it, and I feel humbled and honored to be part of it as well. You know, it's funny at the end of the event, you're just like so taxed, but you're just like you feel so good in that way. You know. And one thing I saw a hashtag. It was like went because we could. You know, it's like good because can. Yeah, and then it's like and then
and we did it.
Yeah, which is just a fun. It's fun to have those things.
And what's funny is that that little teeny tagline, right? Like that, go because you can.
Yeah.
Man, it's a self-checker. There are days where I'm like, dude, I do not want to do anything. But how can I talk about inspiring people to do stuff if I'm not doing stuff?
Yeah, here I am, like too windy, tide's too high, or whatever.
It's like, I don't want to,
Yeah.
I mean, I kick my own can all the time, right? Like, I'm not good enough, I'm not this, that, or the other thing, and I'm hard on myself for sure.
Yeah.
But that that little line, man, it's
pretty magical.
It helps to kick you out of that.
Yeah, it does. Well, so Troy, man, this is epic once again. It's neat to have chatted with you. I guess it was maybe in the fall of 18.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And then having after this event and hearing and seeing the growth, and let me know what help you need to continue to grow it. And if there's something we can do here on the podcast, talk about more. But for folks listening, if you're gonna even consider it, again, it's like all you need as an individual is 2 boards and 5 other people.
Yep.
Really,
that's all you need.
That's all you need.
Yep.
And
a little bit of water.
And some and some grit.
and some grit. Definitely some grit.
But it'll pay you back, in dividends after you get through it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, if the first envelope that you hand out, or the first time you see who you're helping, that's it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That's the magic.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Well, thanks, man. This has been awesome, as always.
My pleasure. Yeah. I can't wait for the next one.
Yes, indeed. We'll do it too.
Right on.
Cheers.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to another podcast episode. Can't do it without you, and so thrilled to have you here supporting myself and the podcast and all the guests continually. Always appreciate a positive rating on your podcast app, whether it be Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, you name it. Just helps grow the podcast and spread awareness. So thanks for that. And then any social media mentions, always super appreciative. And if you know somebody who you think would be great to have on the podcast to share about their ocean life, please hit me up. I'd love to chat with them. Or if you think you'd like to, let me know. Email is josh@thisoceanlife.tv. All right. Thanks, guys.